As you can see, this is the mess I've got to deal with. I've been playing with the solar controller and the solar panels. This is the one I've been using at the moment, the Ring DC30. I'm going to be replacing the MPPT side with this one. Is the one I've got off of Rob at Oak Tree. This is the Smart solar controller. This is the MPPT 100. But 30 amp. I've gone for a 30 amp because I might be putting bigger solar panels on the roof at some point. I have had my test meter out. I'm not an arner, I'm not an idiot. I do know how to use things. I've got a test meter in my little box here, and I put a test meter across the panels, and I was getting about 15 watts out of one of them, and then I've just discovered that the other one, which is these two wires here connected or not connected, I'm getting nothing. So one of my 100 watt solar panels is completely dead. It's doing nothing. So that's probably not been helping. Plus I found when I came to twiddle with these wires a little bit, they were loose. They weren't actually pushed in properly and connected all the way in. So I may have had issues right from the beginning when this was first fitted and installed for me. So I'm not very impressed with the fact that it wasn't put in very well. And the fact that both of these wires were twisted together with the other ones, and I've got 4 wires or 2 wires in a 1 wire hole, which isn't very good. It's never ever going to be a proper connection. I don't know why they cut the ends off of them. I don't know why they didn't just connect them properly on the roof and run them down with one single cable, which is what I would have preferred to have done and what everyone else does. But at the moment I am getting a voltage. I'm getting 12.6 volts from the sun. So I'm gaining something at the moment by having these two disconnected. It's actually working. A little hole down here. I'm going to remove these really rubbish. I've been advised that these trip fuses are rubbish. They'll trip a couple of times and then they're knackered. So I'm taking these out. I've just ordered some more mini fuses or MIDI fuses that I was recommended to get from Richard. So both of these are coming out. I've got a 100 amp and a 50 amp. Chances are that 100 amp was never going to work anyway, and the 50 was probably just rubbish. So I've been recommended a couple of 60 amp fuses and a 30 amp fuse off of my solar. I've got it all written down. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tidy up this complete spaghetti junction. Look at the state of this. Look at it. It's just absolutely rubbish. Excuse me for being right up close. I know I've got a lot of fuses in. I've added a few wires. I've got a light that's up here at the moment that's running off of this. And the last time that the guys were in here, it looks like they've cut the bloody cable as well, which isn't really impressive at all. So they've cut through my actual USB cable, which isn't smart. These were disconnected from a rubbish dimmer switch. I cut these out and replaced this. This is why I've got this big hole in the back here, because there was a dimmer switch on there that was absolutely rubbish. It lasted 2 weeks. I've got other things connected here. I don't know what all these are. These are all blank wires, blank cables that I've obviously put on and moved. There is actually a label on some of them that I put on there, S1, so I'll work out what S1 was. So yeah, I'm just going to tidy all this up, cut all these cables back, get all this back to normal. I've got some cables up here running from switches that I've put on the side here as well, so my light switches are accessible. So yeah, there's a lot of work to do, a lot of tidying up to do. Once it's done, it'll look pretty good. So this is going to be quite a long video, a little bit into depth of what I'm going to do, how I'm going to tidy this mess up, and let's get it working, shall we? So over to me and a pair of pliers, and let's get some of these wires cut back. One little bit of advice I can give you is get yourself some masking tape or some silver insulation tape, because this doesn't come off like masking tape, and a Sharpie pen, and mark down everything that you disconnect and reconnect. Mark it down, write down on the cables what the cables are. So I've wrote solar panels in, positive and negative. I know what they are, panel 1 and panel 2. Panel 1's on this side, it works. Panel 2's on this side, that doesn't work. So yeah, get yourself a bit of something and mark all your numbers down and all your wires so you know what they are, whether they're lights on the roof. I've got lights in my roof, or should I say not roof, in my loft or my penthouse. I've got lights up there, I've got lights here. All these lights are all connected to different cables, so write them all down what they are and you'll know what they are at the other end. What I'm going to be doing as well while I'm here is removing this. I've got a voltmeter here which tells me what voltage the battery is, and at the moment it says it's 12.7 volts. I've also got one down there behind the new battery. I don't need 2 in here, and my battery's going to have its own special smart meter as well, so I really don't need this. I'm going to take this out and I'm going to put a cigar socket back in there so that I can use a cigarette lighter socket if I need to be, because I've already got 4 USB sockets running off of these switches here. So I don't need any more USB, but a cigar socket would do, so I'm going to shove that in the middle. That's another job I'm going to do. I've been messing around in this for quite a little while now, but I'm getting somewhere. Let me have a look and show you what I'm doing. So The MPPT is mounted to the wall, okay, and we've got the cables tidied up a little bit better all up around here. These are all tidied up and strapped in. What I've now got to do is remove these two from here and get these two down here and get two cables from there down to the new battery. Simple really, isn't it? These are going to be coming out. Like I said, these are coming out, so they don't need to be in there, but it's definitely an improvement so far. So MPPT is mounted, some of the cables are tidied up. I've got rid of a few extra cables that I didn't need in there, and yeah, definitely tidied it up. So step one done. Step two, I need the cables and I need to get them to the battery. Whew, here we go again. Right, so as you can see, I've got my both batteries out now. I've actually taken out my AGM battery, and I just wanted to show you that they're both very similar size. So this one's going to fit where this one was. This is the Lithium, this is the AGM, and I just wanted to weigh them and show you the difference on the weight, actually physically show you rather than just tell you. So this one is this is the AGM. I'm going to try and lift this if I can with both of these. Okay, so if you can see that, we're looking at over 20 kilos on that one. And this one, you can see I can do it one-handed. This one is just over 13 kilos. So there is a lot of difference in the weight between that, which you can do one-handed, and this one that you can't do one-handed. So that's a good weight saving. Right, all I've got to do now is get that in the van. Next job. The other thing is, I have a spare solar panel in my garage, so I'm going to try, if I can, to take the other one off the roof. It's supposed to have been Sick Effects on, but I'm not sure it has. I bought some proper Sick Effects, I think it's 255. I'll put a link up for it. It's supposed to be really, really good for sticking stuff on roofs and sealant and stuff out on vans. It's supposed to be the absolutely best stuff you can buy. So I'm going to try and take that. I'm going to peel that off of there, because I stuck that on when I first got it. I'm going to peel it off of there, put that one on the roof, and at least I've got 2 solar panels again that's working. That's the plan anyway. So you can see behind me that I've got both the seats out now. Both the seats are actually disconnected, leaning back, so I can get underneath the driver's seat to get the battery out and sort the wiring out underneath there. And I've also had the passenger seat out because I've done a little bit of wiring underneath there, because I needed to wire up my USB and my fridge socket to the cutout switch, which when it was put in originally wasn't put on the cutout switch. It was wired off of my heater system, which isn't brilliant really. The heater should be on its own, running its own system. The other cable then I can then run through the engine management system, or the shunt system, and I should get a good reading from everything. So yeah, battery's out, ready to go. All I've got to do now is get cables from the back of the van to the front of the van. So it's probably quite dark in here, but you can see I've got the cupboard's been ripped off the top there. I've had the cupboard off the top up there. That's all been taken down so I can get cables through, and I can rewire my little fancy LED lights. The cupboard, the wardrobe is open there. That's where I'm doing my wiring at the moment. And if I'm just getting the van, which is covered in tools and things, you can see in here it's quite dark, I know, but my cupboard's in here, which is where I'm going to be doing my wiring. So yeah, it's a bit messy at the moment, to say the least. I've got cables and wires everywhere, and I've actually bought myself some tools as well to do this job. I bought some proper bits and pieces, heat shrink. I've got a heat shrink gun to, you know, close up wires and seal them and everything. So we're doing this job properly, but what a mess. Oh my god. This is my engine battery down here, and the bay where my battery needs to go. Now I've got a gap of 350mm exactly where my other battery fit, between 2 metal plates, and the battery plastic on the bottom is 354, so I've got to take 2mm of plastic just off the edge, just to make sure it fits right down flat to the floor. It will go in otherwise, but I just want to make sure it's flat on the floor and nice and solid in there. I've also found a place to put my shunt, my Victron smart shunt, and I've been tidying up all the cables. I've put heat shrinks on all these old existing cables that are there, and I've put the new cable in to the dead switch, which is on this side. So I've got all my positives connected together here, I've got all my negatives connected together there. All these are going to go onto my shunt, and all these are going to go onto the battery, and that's it once it's in. So I'm going to tidy all this lot up. Obviously I've got heat shrink, I've got a nice little heat shrink gun, and I've got all my heat shrink and stuff like that. So we are doing this job properly, we're not messing around, we want to make sure everything is sealed, solid and tight. So yeah, onwards, cup of tea, 6mm screwdriver, 6mm bit, 6mm bolt and a 6mm drill, and we'll be sorted. So we've had a right moment. We've been digging around for cables. I started to put the top of my cupboard back up. I've got some couple of cables tucked to the back, and I've put me little strip lights, me pretty fancy lights on the back there. We've decided not to run the cables across the top. Saying we, I've got Darren with me, he's helping me, he's come over, I'm keeping him active and busy this weekend. We've had to have my speaker out in my cupboard because we're going to run the cables down through the bottom now instead. So the next job now is to make start in the little wardrobe area and get these cables sorted out, get the fuses in place, get the MPPT mounted on the wall and fixed down properly. And all we've got to do, as soon as the cables turn up, I'm waiting for Mr. Amazon to turn up and drop me cables off. As soon as he gets here, we can get the cables in, tuck them under the seat, go round the back of the cupboards and through the step on the side of the door, and you shouldn't be able to see anything. So I'll speak to you again when I get a bit further along. So I'm back in the cupboard again with you. I just wanted to show you the finished product and finish what I've done. There's a little bag up here that's got some spare fuses in it, but this is the Victron MPPT now in. I've got my 30 amp breaker coming in this side. I've also got a 60 amp breaker coming into my DC, because now this is now just running my DC to DC. I've got to just start the engine just to make sure that's doing what it's doing. Ignore these little cables, this just goes for a light that's up here, and all the nice tables now, they've all been cable tied in, everything's nice and tidy, tucked in tight. There's a little bit of spaghetti junction going on, but everything's doing a proper job and everything's in its right place. I've also kept a breaker in on the incoming circuit from the solar panel as well, so that if I've ever got to work on the solar panel, I just kick that breaker and it just cuts out the power coming in. But yeah, everything's in, blue lights flashing, the app is working. I can show you the app, just bring this up on the screen for you, and what I do is I'll do a screenshot for you and get it to come on, shall I? Okay, so my phone's going, I'll open the app, you can see it's connecting. I've also got the shunt in the front as well, I'll show you that as well. It's just connecting now, 20%, 8%, 95%. Right, so we're connected to, at the moment we've got two devices connected to the Bluetooth. So we've got our MPPT, which is this one, put our MPPT on, and it will give me everything there. It's not going to get any voltage or amps or current because there's no sun out at the moment, but it is showing it's working. It's got a voltage of 13 to 16, 0.16 volts, and no current at the moment. I'm going to have to check it tomorrow morning when the sun comes out. And if I go back out of this one and go into this one, this is my shunt, and this is reading what's going on at the battery end, at the engine side. Or say the engine side, it's not the engine side at all. And I am in the cupboard, you know, with you. Let me just turn you around here so you can actually see me. Right, so yeah, I've got 13.29 volts, which is the actual battery. It's saying it's at 100% charge. It should be because I've only just put it in. And you can see on there that I'm drawing on the current 0.63 amps. Now I've got a light on in here. If I knock this light off in here, that will go down. That will go down now. It's gone down to 40.46. And I've also got a light on out here. So if I knock the light off on out here, that's now gone to 18 amps or 0.18 amps. So you can see just literally by switching that on and switching this light on in here, how it is affected, and it's gone up, but it's still less than 1 amp. So yeah, it's showing everything straight on the phone of what I've got. So that works very, very well. I'm going to take you down the front and show you where the shunt is. Let's just stop this. I'll take you down there and show you what I've done at the front of the van, and then yeah, it's time to tidy up. Right, so here we are down at the steering wheel end, and as you can see down here, my Eco Tree battery, lithium battery, is now connected. Everything's in here, blue terminal, red terminal, all the tight wires are tidied up, tucked in nice and neatly, tucked it all away. It doesn't move, it fits in there absolutely perfectly. And down here we've got our little blue shunt, and that's reading, there goes all the things falling over, that's reading from, you can see the Bluetooth lights flashing there, and that's basically reading everything that's on the back of my screen. Okay, so simple as that. Everything's in, job's done, and all I've got to do now is reconnect my seat, put the seat back in, start the engine, make sure that I'm getting current back through to the DC-DC, and the job's a good one. So I'll report back in once the engine's running, the van's tidied up, and I'll show you the finished product. Back in my box again, just showing you that I'm getting 14.5 volts coming from the engine. So the DC-DC is now working very well, getting 14.5 from the engine, and I've just got to make sure that I've got solar in the morning if the sun is actually out and we've got any light on it. So yeah, everything is working perfectly at the moment. So that's enough tonight. I'm going to grab some tools, take them in, and I'll see you in the morning for the final report. I've got a backache now as well. Okay, so what did we do? We installed the MPPT, the smart solar controller. That is now in the cupboard, all hidden behind a panel. It's all tucked up away. Didn't do a lot of video of me actually putting that in and installing it, because it was a case of just screwing it to the wall. Got 4 cables that go in the bottom. You've got 2 cables coming from your solar panel, a positive and a negative, and you've got 2 cables going to your leisure battery, positive and negative. Dead easy. We just run them down through the side of the van. Darren actually tucked them in underneath the floor, and we put the trim back in around the side of the door. That was all good. So all those cables are nice and tidy, hidden away. Put a couple of fuses in. There's a 60 amp fuse from the solar, from the DC-DC, and a 30 amp fuse, and these are MIDI fuses. These are slightly different. These are small MIDI fuses. They were highly recommended from one of Rob's team, Richard. So that was fitted in there. So that's all nice and clean, tidy. I've got rid of all the excess rubbish that I didn't need inside the box, and all my lights and all my fittings, everything that works, all these switches and buttons, they've all been tidied up. Down the other end of the van, you've probably seen some time lapse. If not, it'd be running up in this top corner. Me and Darren, we took the battery out, stripped it down, got all the cables out, tidied all the cables up, heat shrinked everything, tidied them back up, put different ends on them, because all the earths had to be connected to the smart shunt. So I had to change all the ends to a 10mm ring so that they go over the end of the smart shunt. I had to put a new earth in from the smart shunt to the new battery, so we had to put one of them in there. Again, Richard supplied that for me, ever so good of him, thank you very much. And all we had to do is fit the one end. We then got the battery in, we had to make it fit, we wiggled it in, got it in nice and tight, run all the cables around it nice and tidily, tucked some foam in to clean them all up. Everything's been shrink wrapped, everything's in heat shrinked rather. There's no cables bare anywhere, everything's nice and tidy. So that took a little bit of work to do that, to sort of pull it all back. I started in the dark and finished it yesterday. So yeah, that was pretty good. So it's all nice and tidy. I had to rewire the switch my fridge is plugged into, because that was running permanently, which wasn't really good, straight off the battery. So I had to rewire that so it was independent. It was wired into my heater controls, which I didn't really want. So other than that, it was quite a basic job. It was just a case of tidying everything up, stripping it back, and that's what took the time. So yeah, not a problem at all. So we're all done. I've got coffee, and I've got banana cake. Job sorted. Everything's in, everything's working. Thanks for watching anyway, if you've watched this second part. I did break the first part into 2, because the first part was a lot about Rob, talking to Rob, speaking to Rob about the actual batteries, what they do and how it all works. If you haven't seen that, I'll put the link up. Do check that out, because he gives a lot of information to why the batteries are as good as they are. Rob's also very good at the end of the phone. He's been on the end of my WhatsApp messenger, and I've been sending him a few screenshots of what's going on my battery, and I can actually show you what's going on at the moment as well. So if I do start recording my screen, you can see that on my screen I've got the smart shunt, and I've also got the smart solar. So if I click on my smart solar, bearing in mind I've only got one panel up there that's working at the moment, and it's not a very good panel. It's actually showing I'm getting 6 watts. The sun's come out now. I'm getting 4, 5, 6 watts every so often. 1 amp, 1.1 amp, 17 volts is coming in from the solar. So you can see it's actually working. It says state bulk, so I assume it's on bulk because it's already charged. So yeah, everything's on that screen to show you what's going on, and then I can go back out on that and I can go back in my shunt, and what the shunt will show you is everything that's going on with that battery, which I thought was really quite good to have. And when it connects, right, so you can see the smart shunt, we've got a low voltage warning. That's because I've set some parameters. If I go onto my parameters, onto my alarms, you can see I've set my state of charge to 20%, so when it gets down to a low 20%, it'll give me an alarm. Also, I've got my starter voltage, and it's a starter voltage that's saying it's low. I've set it to 12.7 because I've got a smart starter, so I'm assuming when it drops below 12.7, it won't take any current from the battery. But when the engine's running, it will take the current from the battery. So that would be just fine. Let's go back to the normal screen. So we're back on the normal screen. It's showing I've got 100% charge. Voltage is 13.3 volts. No amps and that coming out because nothing's switched on at the moment. Time span, it says infinity. It says I've got time remaining. Well, it says 10 days on there. It was just showing infinity before, wasn't it? So I've got 10 days of battery at this state, which you'd think it'd last longer than that. They just go, if there's nothing running, it's not going to run out. You can see it's gone back to infinity again now. So it's going to last for months and months and months with no charge. So yeah, that's the display. Very, very easy to use. Rob actually gave us a sheet with all the information on it, and you just type in the information that you need to put in there to make that work properly with this battery. So yeah, Rob's really good. At the end of the telephone line, he's just sent me 2 messages now. I've got a couple of messages on WhatsApp. He's just looking into the information for me. Speak to Richard tomorrow. So yeah, really, really good. Very, very helpful. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. I know it's been a bit of a random install. Thanks to Darren as well. He's helped us out. He's done a little bit of tinkering while I've been doing stuff. So I'm going to get off now. We're going out. We're going to go and do a little bit of photography. If you want to see my photography videos, they are out on a Wednesday and a Sunday. So check them out. If not, if you like reviews, then I do some reviews on a Friday. Do check these guys out if you're after lithium. Very easy to install. I've installed this myself, tidied up all the wiring, and it's a doddle, an absolute doddle. I'll even give you some advice if you want some advice. So drop us a link in the comment, and yeah, see you soon. Ciao for now, and I'm going to eat my cake. Bye.